Chapter 934. The 26 of them looked at each other, as if they were weighing whether their sincerity was sufficient. The first to speak was always more stressful. The atmosphere instantly became rather stifling. Nothing had happened and Gu Mengmeng was very sure that everyone present, including herself, was not emitting any pressure. But the atmosphere was like the examination hall during the high school examinations, quiet and strange. Occasionally, a gust of wind blew past, but it was as if it was plucking at the taut heartstrings, causing them to vibrate intensely, as if they could snap at any time. I am Hanston, the leader of Franks, a third-level rhinoceros orc. One of them stood out and spoke first. He had a head of gray short hair that did not look old but was extremely fashionable. He was only wearing a leopard print hide, revealing his well-built body. His face was suspiciously dark red as he stared straight at Gu Mengmeng, as if trying to convey a sense of confidence. His fists were clenched tightly by his sides, as if he was not used to such an occasion. I am willing to offer all my loyalty to the messenger and become your partner. This way, Franks will be like Saint Nazir, a tribe belonging to the great messenger. Gu Mengmeng was taken aback. Before she could react, the person standing beside Hanston also stood out and said, I am Joshua, the witch doctor of Franks, a first-level orc from the ape tribe. I am willing to offer my loyalty to the great messenger together with the leader, representing that Franks will completely submit to the great messenger without any disloyalty. Gu Mengmeng was just about to wave her hands to say there was no need, when Leo laughed softly. That laughter was cold and carried a hint of sarcasm. A first-level orc dares to propose a mating request to the messenger of the beast deity. Ha, are you really not afraid of blaspheming the beast deity? Joshua's face turned red from Lee's words, but he refused to lower his head. He continued to look straight at Leah and said, I know I am not strong enough, but I will work hard to improve myself and become a male worthy of the great messenger. Perhaps the great envoy doesn't remember me, but I remember the great envoy. From the first time I saw the great messenger, I have already deeply admired you. Please give me a chance to become your tribesman. Gu Mengmeng. When did she attract such a peach blossom? Why did she not have any impression of him? Lord Envoy. Joshua was not discouraged. Although he was the only first-level orc among everyone present, he was still too weak compared to the competitors who did not even have the right to enter the arena, much less those perverts around Gu Mengmeng. But even so, he did not want to give up the chance to confess, because he really liked Gu Mengmeng. So Joshua took a step forward and continued, Francis and Saint Nazir share a border. If the great messenger accepts us, we are willing to give up the name of Francis and integrate into the Saint Nazir tribe. In that case, Saint Nazir's territory would at least double. Furthermore, even though Francis does not have as many females as Saint Nazir, we have 2 complete females and 5 half-orc females. There are 7 fourth-level males and 29 third-level males in the tribe. These are all precious resources, and we are willing to offer them all to the great messenger without reservation. Chapter 935. Ha! Elvis, who had remained silent all this while, suddenly laughed. The bloodlust and coldness that had not been shown for a long time permeated every cell in the air. Although it was just a simple sound, it sent chills down everyone's spines. They were as silent as cicadas in winter, not daring to say another word. They just looked at Elvis quietly, waiting for him to continue. After all, this Saint Nazir tribe leader and the witch doctor beside him had already swept through many tribes when they were third level. Relying on their perfect teamwork and reckless fighting style, they had forced many people to suffer losses from them. After the arrival of the messenger of the beast deity, these two seemed to have disappeared without a trace and did not commit any bloody killings anymore. However, their past, great achievements were still fresh in people's memories. Today, one of them was a 5th level and the other a 4th level. That made them even more of a Yama that no one dared to provoke. Elvis stretched his neck to the left. Those who were familiar with him knew that this was a sign that he was about to attack. This time, no one dared to speak. If Saint Nazir wants territory, we don't need Xiao Meng to mate. Elvis took half a step forward, like a god of war looking down on everyone. The sunlight shone on his face, but no one dared to lift their heads to look at his facial features. They could only feel their bodies trembling and crazily wanted to kneel down and beg for mercy. Seizing by force is my way of doing things. A faint smile had already appeared on Li's face. That smile was one that everyone was all too familiar with. Before he met Gu Mengmeng, how many years had this smile been on his face? The more angered he was to the point of wanting to kill someone, the more elegant and charming his smile would be. His voice was also filled with coldness. That light sentence made the atmosphere of the entire scene drop by quite a bit. Has Francis' water source problem been solved? If I don't give you water during this dry season, I wonder how long you guys can last. Leah said these words with a concerned expression, stabbing at the weakest spot of the other party with all his might. Every stab did not draw blood, but he had a firm grasp on the other party's lifeline. When your tribesmen either leave or die due to lack of water, do you think there will be anyone who dares to fight with Saint Nazir for France's current territory? Hanston and Joshua were both speechless. Yes, they had no water. In the past, it was still alright when everyone was in a drought, but last year, Saint Nazir started to release water for everyone. That was the happiest dry season that Frank had experienced in 1,000 years. If Leah cut off France's water supply, the people in the tribe would definitely leave, because as long as they went to another tribe, they would be able to drink the water provided by Saint Nazir again. By then, Franks would be doomed. Naturally, no one would dare to fight with Saint Nazir for the territory. After all, who wouldn't be afraid that the next tribe to have their water cut off? Li's gaze swept across the crowd below the stage and he chuckled. Some tribes lack water, some lack food, some tribes' last female has already been dead for half a year, some tribes' territories have been used by the stray beasts as their food source during the winter season all year round, suffering attacks year after year without any ability to retaliate. TSK, TSK, TSK. Aren't you ashamed to use such a family as dowry to talk about mating with my Meng Meng? Li's words silenced the others who had wanted to mention mating. No one dared to step forward. Chapter 936. Soul of the Forest. Gu Mengmeng savored these 4 words and chuckled. Of course I can. I have already said that I will grant a wish to anyone who can help me obtain the 5 treasures. If your wish is for me to not pursue the matter, I can agree to it now. Alright, it's a deal. Leonard bowed to Gu Mengmeng and said, Then, I will go back to make some preparations and await the great messenger's arrival at Zacharias. Gu Mengmeng chuckled and nodded in agreement. Then, Leonard and Nick turned to leave. Gu Mengmeng looked at the other 24 people. They were all clearly stunned by the soul of the forest's appearance. Compared to the soul of the forest, their sincerity clearly did not carry enough weight. Gu Mengmeng didn't want to make things difficult for them, so she stretched and stood up. I am tired. You and, great messenger, please go and rest first. I will handle the remaining matters and give you and Wabi a satisfactory reply. Oakley spoke first. Gu Mengmeng thought for a moment and didn't reject him. She only responded with a before allowing Elvis to carry her away. Wabi had no patience for such friendly negotiations. If Gu Mengmeng wasn't sitting here, he wouldn't have bothered to listen to their nonsense. Now that Gu Mengmeng had left, he naturally followed suit. Back at the stone castle, Leah said to Elvis, Zacharias is near the stray beast base camp. We should stay at the stray beast base camp, in case there are any overconfident fellows trying to impress Mengmeng with their presence. Elvis nodded. That's what I thought too. Gu Mengmeng asked Wabi, little shit, are you still going to accompany me this time? Wabi-I nodded. The previous kiss of the ocean was filled with poisonous fog and swamps. Who knows what will happen this time? If I know you are going to take the risk, I will definitely accompany you. Otherwise, how am I going to answer to him if anything happens to you? Gu Mengmeng chuckled and asked, but don't you have to return to the Snake King Valley to explain what happened this time? After all, this is the first time in 1,000 years that an outsider has infiltrated the valley and killed the people of the Snake King Valley. No matter what, this is a big matter. Wabi-I stared coldly at Gu Mengmeng. He seemed to have thought for a moment before nodding his head lazily in annoyance. Yeah, I have to go back and inform them. Gu Mengmeng said, then you should go and settle the matters of the Snake King Valley first. After all, the Snake King Valley and Zacharias are not in the same direction. Wabi-I rolled his eyes and rapped Gu Mengmeng's head. Those who want to help you are all on the way. Those who value you are not busy day or night. Gu Mengmeng was really touched by Wabi-I. She pounced forward and hugged him, looking up at him. Little shit, you have really become intelligent. You can even speak like a human, scram. Wabi-I roared. I'm kind enough to be your bodyguard. How dare you say that about me? Gu Mengmeng giggled. All right. Don't be angry. I know you are a warm guy. Wabi-I squinted at Gu Mengmeng for 2 seconds. Then, he roared, don't think that I don't know you are scolding me in a roundabout way just because you are smiling. A warm guy is definitely not saying anything nice. Can't you say anything nice about me? Gu Mengmeng shrugged helplessly. After all, a warm guy in the eyes of males was equivalent to a green tea bitch in the eyes of females. So Wabi-I's words were not wrong. But little shit, Gu Mengmeng was sincerely praising you this time. Aside from the topic, Wabi-I, Gu Mengmeng, I treat you as a friend. Why are you treating me as a warm guy? Gu Mengmeng shrugged helplessly. I am really not scolding you this time, why don't you believe me? Chapter 937. In the meeting room, Cole sat casually and lazily on the chair that belonged to Gu Mengmeng. His large hands gently caressed the beast's skin on the back of the chair, with a faint smile on his lips. Oakley stood at the spot that belonged to him at the bottom of the stairs. No matter if it was Gu Mengmeng or Cole sitting on the stone chair, he would still stand there, no difference. You did very well, I am very satisfied. As a reward, once Gu leaves this place, you can see your bloom. Cole's gaze lingered on the armrest of the stone chair, as if he could see Gu Mengmeng's adorable look when she used her elbow to support herself in boredom. His lips curled up slightly, and even Oakley became more pleasing to the eye. You don't have to look so glum, I did not ask you to do anything evil. I just want you to put in more effort when you are assisting Gu. By pushing you to the peak of power, you will be able to protect that little snake of yours better, right? Oakley did not have any expression on his face, he tried his best to look unperturbed. He knew that Cole was too good at manipulating people's hearts, he could not reveal more information to Cole. But, he tried his best to control his expression, but neglected the fact that the veins on his tightly clenched fists were popping out. How could anyone believe the nonchalance on his face? Cole did not expose him, he just enjoyed Oakley's desperate stubbornness. He chuckled, as if he was a cat playing with a mouse. I have one thing I don't understand. Oakley looked up at Cole, you spent so much effort to lure the mighty messenger to Sauter, just to pretend to be Leah for a day. Cole was in an extremely good mood when he thought of the day he pretended to be Leah. His Gu did not confuse him with that useless brother, she saw through him with one look. Rather than saying that he pretended to be Leah that day, it would be better to say that it was the day he openly stayed by Gu's side. Although Gu ignored him coldly, they still shared many memories, didn't they? Thinking of this, Cole's mood became even better. Hence, he answered Oakley's question exceptionally generously. Don't you feel that when the person you like comes to your side on his own accord, it is a joyous thing? Gu would gradually get used to living with me. If I suddenly disappeared one day, she wouldn't be used to it. So, I have to be the most special person in her life. Since that's the case, you're letting her go just like that. Oakley was referring to the search for the soul of the forest. Cole's gaze deepened and the smile on his lips deepened. I want to be her savior, the only one she can rely on in hell. So the prerequisite was that she had to fall into hell first. If there is no hell, I can only create one for her. Hope slowly accumulates, and in the blink of an eye, it is shattered. I can almost imagine her look of despair. How distressing. Cole said those cruel words with a look of enjoyment. His entire body was emitting an evil aura, causing Oakley to frown tightly. Alright, you just have to work hard for Gu and push Solder to the top of the world. I want my Gu to stand at the top of the world and trample everything under her feet. And you must be her stepping stone. Cole stood up and walked towards Oakley step by step. He placed his hand on Oakley's shoulder and exerted a little force, causing Oakley to kneel down at his feet. Cole seemed to be very satisfied as his lips curled into a smile. As long as you are loyal to Gu, you and your little snake will be fine. Otherwise, I will not forgive anyone who causes trouble for Gu. In this world, I am the only one who can make her unhappy. Aside from the topic, let's talk about a joke. You the Great was controlling the flood. He passed by the house 3 times but did not enter. Did you think that nothing would happen if he did not enter the house? Such a naive little cutie. Many things could happen without entering the house. You the Great's wife looked forward to her husband's return every day. In the end, she became a rock waiting for her husband, and Sun Wukong jumped out from the cracks of the rock. You the Great used the ultimate magical weapon, the godly sea calming needle, to control the flood. And the godly sea calming needle was also known as the golden cudgel. Only Sun Wukong could wield the golden cudgel, and it only listened to Sun Wukong. From this, one could conclude that You the Great was Sun Wukong's father. Chapter 938. Before Gu Mengmeng left, she went to see Sandy. Sandy's tummy was getting bigger by the day and it was getting more and more inconvenient for her to move around. Gu Mengmeng had wanted to wait for Sandy to finish giving birth before setting off, but it would be the dry season by then and any movement would become torture for Wabi. He had to return to the Snake King Valley to recuperate. Although she really didn't need a bodyguard now as no one could do anything to her even if she ran around on her own. But towards Wabi, apart from the friendship between friends, she also felt a sense of guilt. After all, she was the one who had snatched away the most important person he had relied on for 800 years. So she had the responsibility to comfort his boring life. Moreover, Gu Mengmeng had already decided that she would never abandon the 3 little ones. Thinking back to the incident at the bottom of the ocean, Gu Mengmeng felt more at ease with Wabi by her side. After all, if anything happened, Elvis would definitely protect her first. By then, there would be a gap in the safety of the 3 little ones and it would be easy for others to take advantage of it. So Wabi could fill this gap with his presence. Moreover, Cole had already promised not to find trouble with Sandy, so Gu Mengmeng decided not to wait for Sandy to give birth. She would look for the soul of the forest now. It would be best if she could finish it quickly and return before Sandy gave birth. Once Sandy heard that Gu Mengmeng was leaving, she hugged Gu Mengmeng and started crying. Gu Mengmeng knew that a pregnant woman's emotions would fluctuate greatly, so she patiently coaxed Sandy for a long time. In the end, she used her trump card and promised to bring back some delicious fruits for her. Sandy, the little foodie, blinked her big bright eyes and pushed Gu Mengmeng out of the door, saying, "Come back quickly." Once they were out of solder, Gu Mengmeng remained in Elvis's arms. Shaking her head in exasperation, Gu Mengmeng said, "Sigh, I feel very sad now." Elvis looked at her smiling face and could not feel any sadness at all, but he still gave her face. Expressing his inquiry. Gu Mengmeng said, "Sandy is my best friend, but in her eyes, I am not even comparable to a fruit." At first, she hugged me tightly and refused to let go. But once she heard that there was food, she actually pushed me out. I am starting to doubt my own worth. Am I not even comparable to a fruit? Elvis chuckled. He could not understand the friendship between females. Moreover, he was unwilling to waste time thinking about what other females were thinking, so he just kissed Gu Mingming's little head and said, "You are the most precious, nothing can be compared to you." Gu Mengmeng smiled sweetly and snuggled into Elvis's arms. Wabi cleared his throat and inched closer to Gu Mengmeng. He said awkwardly, have you gone to see your father recently? Did you ask me anything?" Gu Mengmeng knew that Wabi was asking about sending her to Snakeside, so she nodded and said, "Yeah, I went to ask once after we parted ways, but my father's attitude was I can't tell you. It's not the right time to switch the power source yet, just wait a little longer. Anyway, I still remember your request. I will help you ask whenever I see my father." Wabi pursed his lips and looked at Gu Mengmeng in silence for a long while. Then, he said, "You are unfilial." "Ah." Gu Mengmeng looked at Wabi in bewilderment. She did not know where his conclusion came from. Wabi said, "You could only stay in the cave for the entire winter without doing anything, yet you only went to see your father once. If you are not unfilial, then what is?" Digression. Based on the above argument, we can continue to elaborate. There is a joke on the internet about Sun Wukong saying that monkeys are monkeys after all. After staying in the immortal peach garden, the 7 fairies only went to eat peaches. However, have you all forgotten that the 7 fairies are the same color as the Calabash brothers, and there are exactly 7 of them? After the 7 Calabash brothers fused together, they became a stone mountain, and Sun Wukong jumped out from the cracks in the stone. So the conclusion is that Sun Wukong is the Calabash brothers' father. Then, the Calabash brothers' father is Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong's father is Yu the Great. Do you still think that it was a coincidence that the old man sowed the seeds of the Calabash brothers? Chapter 939. Gu Mengmeng rolled her eyes. What else could she not understand? Wabi merely wanted her to visit the beast deity a few more times and ask him when he could send him to Snake's side. But understanding was one thing. Gu Mengmeng felt that when Wabi came knocking on her door, she would feel uncomfortable if she didn't rebuke him. So he cleared his throat and said, "Sigh, my old man is the Lord Beast God, he must be very busy. Do you think everyone in the world is as idle as you? Your greatest joy is looking for a beating, and your greatest skill is pretending to be shit. You." Wabi was rendered speechless by Gu Mingming's retort. He couldn't think of any rebuttal and just waved his hands. You are unfilial anyway." Gu Mengmeng twitched her lips and said, "Then tell me, how many times have you accompanied your father in the past 800 years? If you're more than me, I'll admit that you're filial." Wabi looked at Gu Mengmeng as though she was an idiot. "Why should I be filial?" Gu Mengmeng snorted. "You're not filial yourself and you're asking me to be filial." Wabi nodded sincerely and said, "Yes, my lack of filial piety has not affected you. But your lack of filial piety has affected me. You are so shameless and self-righteous." Gu Mengmeng looked at Wabi with an amused and angry expression. Wabi didn't mind. He shrugged his shoulders and said, "It's still a few days before we reach Zacharias. Since there's nothing much to do, go to sleep." Gu Mengmeng straightened her neck and said, "This is my first time bringing my son out, how can I sleep?" "I'm not sleeping." Wabi narrowed his eyes and said with a dark face, "Are you going to sleep or not? If you don't sleep, I'll eat your son." Gu Meng Meng gave him a "I don't believe you" smile and said, "Go ahead and eat them. After you eat them, I will tell Snake that you bullied me and forced me into a dead end. Let's see how you will face him in the future. Aren't you shameless?" Wabi pointed at Gu Mingming's nose and stomped his foot. But Gu Meng Meng smiled like the cute and charming antagonist in Pokemon, Team Rocket. "Ha ha ha, don't you know? Mr. Kong had said many years ago that only women and vile people were difficult to raise. A woman's shamelessness is also a kind of charm." Wabi gritted his teeth, wishing he could strangle Gu Meng Meng to death. He opened and closed his hands around Gu Mingming's neck, but he could not bring himself to strangle it. Gu Meng Meng was completely unafraid of Wabi's threat. Not only did she not hide, she even deliberately stuck out her neck and asked with a grin, "Are you going to pinch me or not? If you want to pinch me, you have to be quick. It's tiring to stretch like this." Wabi's face turned green with anger. Shaking his hands, he straightened his neck and said, "You think I'll do it just because you want me to? How embarrassing would that be for me?" Gu Meng Meng laughed heartily and patted Wabi's shoulder. Wabi was sent flying far away and only came to a stop after flying 7 to 8 steps. On the other hand, Gu Meng Meng did not feel any sense of guilt from beating someone up. She just smiled and dusted off her hands, saying, "Little shit is really different after becoming a demon. He even knows how to save his face." Ha ha ha. Gu Meng Meng. Wabi rolled to his feet and chased after her. He raised his hand to hit Gu Meng Meng, but Gu Meng Meng just smiled at him with a "hit me if you have the guts" attitude. Wabi was so angry that he swung his fists at the air, but ultimately did not land a punch on Gu Meng Meng. Initially, Elvis would still guard against Wabi's mischief, fearing that Gu Meng Meng would really attack her. But after so many times, Elvis no longer dared to even lift his eyelids at Wabi. He just focused on watching Gu Meng Meng pranking him, his face filled with adoration. Digression. Chapter 940. It was the first time the three little ones had gone on such a long journey with Gu Meng Meng and they could not control their excitement. They often ran far away before running back. They were drenched in sweat but never tired. Elvis hugged Gu Meng Meng while Wabi kept arguing with her. So Leah was in charge of watching over the three little ones in case anything happened to them. This family was exceptionally harmonious. During dinner, Elvis accompanied Gu Meng Meng while Leah prepared the cooking utensils. Wabi went hunting and the three little ones insisted on tagging along. Wabi did not reject them. When they returned, the three little ones became Wabi's lobbyists. They pestered Gu Meng Meng to go to sleep and said how pitiful Wabi was. Gu Meng Meng felt rather helpless. She hugged Kanwu who was in her arms and asked, "But if Mummy falls asleep, it will be at least another 2 to 3 days. Then I will miss out on admiring the scenery along the way with you guys." Kanwu shook his head. He was not as eloquent as Jiaoyu and could not come up with all sorts of high-sounding excuses. He could only plead, "Mummy, just sleep, sleep." Jiaoyu hung onto Gu Mingming's arm and shook her vigorously. "Mummy, we are already very happy that you are willing to bring us along. As long as we can accompany Mummy, all the scenery will be beautiful and pleasant. Moreover, we don't know what kind of danger we will encounter on this trip to find the soul of the forest. You should at least go and greet Grandpa in advance and see if Grandpa has any other cheats he can give you. Just in case you are caught unprepared." Gu Meng Meng really did not know what benefits Wabi had given to the three little ones for them to speak up for him so wholeheartedly. But Jiaoyu's words made sense. The kiss of the beast deity that her lonely father had given her had been a huge part of the success of her previous trip to find the kiss of the ocean. Otherwise, she would be a useless baby the moment she entered the water. Not to mention fighting, even staying alive would be a problem. This time, she did not know what she was going to face. Perhaps she should really go and get some pocket money. Heaving a sigh of relief, Gu Mengmeng nodded. All right, I understand. Mummy will go and ask Grandpa if there is anything I need to take note of. But while I am going to look for Grandpa, the three of you must behave yourselves. Don't make Father Beast and Father Leah angry, understand? Jiaoyu nodded heavily and said, Mother, don't worry. We are not fools and will not provoke a lunatic. Gu Mengmeng face-bombed and asked the heavens speechlessly, can the image of a husband in his son's heart still be salvaged? Elvis did not seem to take Jiaoyu's words to heart. No, it was not as if he really did not take it to heart. In this world, he only cared about how Gu Mengmeng saw and thought of him. As for the others, even if they were his biological sons, he did not care. Gu Mengmeng leaned into Elvis's arms and said, Hubby, after dinner, I'll accompany my lonely old man to watch television. Also, ask him about the soul of the forest. Elvis caressed Gu Mengmeng's little head and kissed the top of her head. His voice was mellow and filled with affection. Like a cello playing, it was melodious and full of charm. Eat more for dinner. Leave the rest to me. Yeah. Gu Mengmeng nodded and snuggled deeper into Elvis's arms. Chapter 941. The white fog dispersed, revealing a two-seater wooden chair in the shade. The beast deity sat there with his eyes closed and his head raised, just like an artistic youth sunbathing in the park. Gu Mengmeng felt very awkward at first to call him daddy when facing such a face, but as time went by, she got used to it. Daddy, Gu Mengmeng sat beside the beast deity and smiled at him. The beast deity seemed to have known that Gu Mengmeng was back and answered in a daze, my daughter is back. Gu Mengmeng glanced sideways at the beast deity and asked, you look very tired. The beast deity smiled and shook his head, saying, nothing much, I just went to listen to the holy teachings. In the words of your world, it's called a meeting and listening to the leader's speech. Gu Mengmeng chuckled and said, then you should be tired. It's nothing, having my daughter watching television with me is enough to relieve my tiredness. With that, he smiled and raised his hand to wave, but suddenly stopped and said, I will give you your pocket money after watching television. Gu Mengmeng really felt that she was an unfilial daughter. It seemed like she did not even need to say anything for the lonely old man in her house to know that she was back to live off his parents. In the future, should she come back to visit when she was free? After all, she had called him daddy for so long. Did she really want to be a strawberry who only returned home when she was short of money? The beast deity nodded and then waved his hand, dispersing the white fog in front of them. The scene was the canteen of Gu Mengmeng's previous university. Snake pulled Gu Mengmeng to sit by the window in the canteen and the two of them faced the window and sat side by side. This place was originally a long table for 4 people to sit at, but Snakel used his privileges to mark it out as his exclusive dining spot. Naturally, the food he ate was not the same as the cafeteria's cafeteria, but exquisite dishes prepared by a professional chef in a separate kitchen. Gu Mengmeng was speechless and turned to look at Snake, asking, you don't even eat the canteen's food, why did you come to the canteen? You can just go to the canteen outside to eat. Snakel chuckled as he elegantly used his left hand to place the food in front of him into his mouth. He chewed and swallowed before replying to Gu Mengmeng's question, this is the fastest way to let everyone know you belong to me. Gu Mengmeng lowered her head to look at her left hand which was still in Snake's grasp. Let go of me first. Snake raised an eyebrow and asked, why? It's not convenient to eat like this. Snake asked, don't you always use your right hand? Gu Mengmeng looked at the clock on the wall. In less than 5 minutes, there would be students coming in one after another to eat. She would not be able to explain herself if she was held by Snake like this. She tried to shake him off, but Snake's hand was like an iron clamp, not moving an inch. Gu Meng Meng had no choice but to use a softer approach. I was afraid that it would be inconvenient for you. Snake chuckled and raised the chopsticks in his left hand. I have been using my left hand to handle many things since young, such as eating, writing, just so that my right hand can be free to do more important things, such as holding your hand. Gu Mingming's face flushed red. Her blood rushed to the top of her head from Snake's serious sweet talk. Chapter 942. Snake didn't let go. Instead, he leaned closer to Gu Meng Meng and admired her blushing face with narrowed eyes. You eat and live with me, go to school and go home with me every day. Who would believe that you aren't my girlfriend? Moreover, I stood up for you so openly today. I'm afraid it's too late for you to say that we are just boss and subordinate now. Gu Meng Meng was speechless for a moment. Snake continued. Moreover, you have the obligation to keep my identity as the CEO of Monster a secret and take care of me. What else is more suitable than being my girlfriend? Instead of explaining and making things worse, why not just acknowledge this identity? Isn't that better? Moreover, the love letter you sent me yesterday morning must have already spread throughout the entire school. Confessing yesterday and dumping me today. TSK. Tu Meng, aren't you too fickle? Gu Mingming's face was extremely red. She didn't know if it was because she was angry or because Snake was leaning too close to her. She shifted her body backwards and fell onto the ground. Looking up, her eyes were filled with tears. She didn't know if it was from pain or grievance. When I signed the contract, I clearly said that I am doing an internship. It's not business time when school is in session. You can't force me to pretend to be a couple with you in school. Seeing her fall made Snake's heart ache. He pulled her back into his arms with a huge hand. With a gloomy expression, he said, Who said we are going to pretend to be a couple? I really want you to be my girlfriend. Gu Meng Meng shook her head. I refuse. I don't like you. Say that again. Snake's face darkened. His entire body emitted an intense pressure. He was obviously angered by Gu Meng Meng. Gu Meng Meng wanted to hide even more, but Snake refused to give her any space to hide. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have been involved in those weird scandals. Although I am poor, I have always been a pure and innocent girl. Because of you, everyone in school is now saying that I am a concubine. I beg you, don't harm me anymore. Can you just pretend that you don't know me in school? No. He didn't want to be apart from her for even a second. He would feel as if he had lost her the moment he did not see her. Pretending not to know each other in school. Then let's just tear down the school. There's no point in the school's existence. Gu Meng Meng could already vaguely hear people queuing outside the canteen. Once the doors opened, everyone would see her and Snake. Panicking, Gu Meng Meng blurted out, Then I will resign. I quit. Snake's face darkened even further. Can you afford the penalty fee? Gu Meng Meng clenched her teeth and said, At most, I will sell my kidney. I will definitely compensate you for the breach of contract. Hearing that she was willing to hurt herself just to leave him, Snake was so angry that his teeth were itching. But even so, he still controlled his strength in his hand, not willing to hurt her in the slightest. Don't pretend to be a couple. In school, I'm your pursuer. This is the last concession, Snake said through clenched teeth. If it's a pursuer, I can reject him, right? Chapter 943. Snake gritted his teeth and said, I can let go, but if you dare to run, I will immediately use the school's broadcast system to announce that we are cohabiting, and provide the high-definition surveillance footage of us from yesterday afternoon to this morning. After saying that, Snake then tried to let go. Seeing that Gu Meng Meng really did not want to run, Snake could not help but shake his head in exasperation. Whether it was in the beast world or here, he always had to threaten her with something before she would obediently stay by his side. He could give her the best, so why couldn't she stay by his side and enjoy his love? Why did she have to push him away? Sigh, sit down. Snake pointed to the seat beside him. Gu Meng Meng really wanted to turn around and leave, but firstly, she did not dare to cut a kidney to pay for the breach of contract, and secondly, she was really afraid that Snake would send out the surveillance footage. Everything else was fine, but the scene of her helping him shave his beard in the washroom yesterday was too ambiguous, and it would be hard for others to explain themselves if they saw it. So Gu Meng Meng lowered her noble head to reality, and followed Snake's instructions to sit beside him, but half of her butt was suspended in the air. Anyway, she just wanted to try her best to stay as far away from him as possible. Snake was also very helpless against this situation. He knew that his aggressiveness had scared her, but he had already waited long enough. Ever since he came to this world, he had been suppressing the urge to tie her up and imprison her by his side every minute and second. He really could not suppress it any longer now. The closer he was to her, the more he wanted to own her. The door of the cafeteria was pushed open, and a fierce battle over the popular dishes unfolded. However, the flames of war did not spread to their small table. There were no bodyguards or isolation belts, but no one dared to approach here. It was probably the first time the canteen was so quiet since it was opened. Everyone's gazes landed on them, as if countless X-rays were shining on them, and they could see even more clearly than when they were naked. Are you done eating? If you are, then leave quickly. Gu Meng Meng really could not hold it in any longer. Snake glanced sideways, frowned and asked, "Is my face not good enough?" "Ah." Gu Meng Meng was confused, not understanding what Snake meant. Snake asked again, "My figure is not good?" Gu Meng Meng shook her head instinctively. She still remembered how this fellow had purposely changed his clothes in front of her this morning. Although he had only changed into a shirt, his 8-pack and clear mermaid lines were unforgettable to Gu Meng Meng, and she almost had a nosebleed. Seeing Gu Meng Meng shaking her head, not only was Snake not happy, he became even more melancholic. "Then is it because my family background is not good enough? Not rich enough or powerful enough?" He was the CEO of Monsieur, and he had to clear the entire place just to go shopping. Yesterday, he had spent around 2 million on clothes alone. Was he not rich enough? How would Gu Meng Meng, who had sold herself for a salary of 4,500 a month, feel? As for power, Gu Meng Meng did not know how much power Snake had, but just by looking at the attitude of the principal and the management towards him today, Gu Meng Meng could only shake her head again, her expression a little wooden. Snake's frown deepened as he turned around to face Gu Meng Meng. "Then what's wrong with me? Why don't you like me?" Chapter 944. Snake laughed coldly and said, "No. If you didn't, then why are you unwilling to admit that you are my girlfriend?" Gu Meng Meng shifted her upper body backwards in an instinctive move and said, "I am not your girlfriend to begin with, how can I admit it?" Snake was afraid that Gu Meng Meng would fall down again and wanted to reach out to hug her, but seeing her guarded expression, he could only retract his hand and said, "Do you want to sit properly or do you want me to carry you? Choose." Gu Meng Meng pushed Snake and said, "Then don't lean over." Snake gritted his teeth and returned to his original position. He even purposely distanced himself and glared at Gu Meng Meng. "See, and you still say you don't despise me?" Gu Meng Meng sat up obediently and used her chopsticks to poke at the spaghetti on the plate. She did not dare to look at Snake anymore. This fellow's presence was too strong and it made her heart beat erratically. "I'm not despising you, I just don't like this feeling." Snake smiled and said, "I don't like it." She was referring to the difference in reality. He was a star in the sky, only to be looked up to and worshipped. And she was just a weed on the ground, for anyone to trample on. Humans could have dreams. But there should be a limit to dreams. Once it exceeded that limit, it would no longer be a dream, but a delusion. Gu Mengmeng did not hate Snake, and it was not that he was not good enough. On the contrary, it was because he was too good, so good that he was perfect and flawless. He was so good that even in her dreams, she did not dare to think about it. To her, it was impossible for Snake to like her. At most, it could be that he had eaten too many delicacies and wanted to try the feeling of eating leftovers. And Gu Mengmeng knew that she could not afford to play this game. But Snake did not know about Gu Mengmeng's concerns. He thought that she was referring to the pressure of announcing their relationship in public when she said she did not like this feeling. Snake sighed. He was also very troubled. In the memories he had fused from Gu Mengmeng's mind, there was clearly a scene where a domineering CEO publicly announced that he and the female lead of Cinderella were lovers. Moreover, she had an intense discussion with her roommates, and the final conclusion was that the boy who dared to introduce you to everyone and openly admitted your relationship was the boy who truly loved you. In order to satisfy her girlish heart, he didn't mind the trouble of setting up Monster Corporation, just to fulfill her dream of writing, "Overbearing President falls in love with me." But, why was her reaction different from what she had said before? Back then, she clearly said that if she was the female lead, she would definitely be so touched that she would propose to the male lead on the spot. Snake frowned and seriously tried to recall which part of the plan went wrong. The moment Snake fell into deep thought, the pressure emanating from his body became even more obvious. Not only was the canteen quiet, some people even started to skip their meals and slipped away, unable to withstand the pressure. Gu Mengmeng sniffled and also felt very uncomfortable, so she forced a topic and said, "You are clearly not a mute. Why didn't you open your mouth to speak in the past? Everyone thought you were a mute." Chapter 945. Gu Mengmeng stared blankly at Snake and was stunned for 3 seconds. When she finally reacted to what Snake had just done, her face turned as red as a tomato. Snake looked at her bashful look with a gentle gaze. He raised his palm and said, "Tu Meng. Give me your hand and I will answer your question." Gu Mengmeng's brain was in a rush and she had no time to think before she placed her hand into Snake's palm. Snake retracted his fingers and smiled. He liked it when Gu Mengmeng blushed because of him. She was not immune to him, nor did she dislike him. She was just resistant. Resistant for an unknown reason. It was all right. He had the confidence to break through her resistance. She was his and could only be his. Holding onto Gu Mengmeng's little hand, Snake's dark green eyes reflected the sunlight. Tiny light spots shone on Gu Mengmeng's face. His voice was like a gentle spring breeze caressing one's heart, making one's heart flutter. "I don't want the best of me to be wasted by someone who is not important to me. Because everything I have is left for you." Gu Mengmeng's beautiful eyes widened in shock. She stammered and laughed dryly, "Ah. Ha, you don't believe me." Snake raised his eyebrows and asked, "In the past 19 years, other than you, I have never spoken to any other female, including my biological mother. The number of times I have spoken to men can be counted on one hand. Unless necessary, I will not speak to anyone else." Gu Mengmeng believed in this point. Otherwise, Snake would not have been treated as a mute after entering the school for more than a year. Snake held Gu Mengmeng's hand tightly and said, "I have spoken more to you in the past 2 days than I have in the past 19 years combined." Gu Mengmeng was stunned and did not know how to react. "Do you still not understand? I belong to you and only you. And what belongs to you cannot be wasted on anyone else." Gu Mengmeng did not even know how she finished her meal. Her entire brain was in a state of shutdown. Snake was probably just playing around, right? Then why was he so special to her? He was not lying to her that he never spoke to anyone else. Because not only did the people in school call him the mute school hunk, even when he participated in swimming competitions in the past, none of the reporters could pry a single word out of him. So the whole world thought he was a mute. But this mute suddenly spoke one day, and he only spoke to her. Just for fun, that he had planned for 19 years. Gu Mingming's heart was touched at that moment. Gu Mengmeng looked up at Snake against the sunlight. She bit her lower lip and asked, "Do you like me?" Snake laughed. He laughed at Gu Mengmeng for asking him such a silly question. But if it was something she wanted to hear, he was willing to repeat it 1,000 times a day. "I like you. I like you so much that I want to give you the whole world, but it's not enough. I like you. I like you so much that I want to seal myself up and give you a pure me. I like you. I like you so much that even though I'm holding your hand right now, I still miss you. I like you. I like you to the point where I stand in a place where everyone's eyes are on me. Even if I feel uncomfortable, I still stand there, just so that you can look at me one more time. I like you. I like you so much that even if I have to abandon the whole world, I want to be your lone hero and protect you for the rest of your life." Then, what's your answer? When are you going to start liking me? Digression. Today's update came to an end with Snake's love speech attack. He gave Tu Meng some time to recover. Her heart was beating so fast that she could not reply. Chapter 946. It's not about whether you like me or not, but when did you start liking me? Gu Mingming's mouth twitched. She thought to herself that this god, who usually looked as quiet and unreachable as the celebrities in the posters, actually had such a flirtatious and domineering nature. Why me? Gu Mengmeng did not understand. With Snake's status, any romantic love story should be between a prince and a princess. Why did it have to be her, who was so insignificant? Snake looked at Gu Mengmeng for a long time. Suddenly, he laughed and asked, "Would you believe me if I said it was predestined?" Ha! Gu Mengmeng was a little disappointed. What era was it now? Predestined. That was such an old joke. Snake chuckled softly and said, "You are the only color in my eyes. Wherever you are, everything else will become the background and passers-by. Other than you, I can't see anyone else. Isn't this predestined? You are the only color in my eyes." Gu Mengmeng did not know why, but when she heard this sentence, her heart felt as if it was being poked by someone. She could not tell if it was pain or agitation. Anyway, it was an indescribable pain. "So what's your answer? When do you intend to start liking me?" Gu Mengmeng lowered her head and wanted to retract her hand that was being held by Snake. But Snake did not allow her to do so. He just raised his brows and looked at her, as if he would not give up until she gave him an answer. "Before yesterday, I did not even know you. I can't say that I like you," Gu Mengmeng said softly. Snake was helpless. Yeah, he had guarded her for 18 years, but she had never noticed his presence in the crowd. "But you have already known me for 29 hours. My wealth, my power, my figure, haven't you checked them all? If there's anything you are not satisfied with, you can tell me. I will definitely satisfy you." Snake's face was serious and did not sound like he was joking at all. Although he didn't know what other people's love was like, there were too many women who wanted to throw themselves at him after just one look at him. If it wasn't for his ruthlessness, he would destroy the whole family of anyone who dared to throw themselves at him. He reckoned that by now, he would have been devoured by those women 800 times over. Other people said that they loved him to death at first sight, but his Tu Meng had already known him for 29 hours. Why didn't she love him? Snake expressed his anxiety and really wanted to crush something to calm his emotions. Every time this happened, he missed Wabi. He was free to be thrown, beaten, kicked, Gu Mingming's heart was even more anxious than Snakel's. Have you ever seen anyone say that they liked someone 29 hours after snatching someone's love letter? She did not know if others could do it, but she wailed in her heart, I can't do it. Looking at Gu Mingming's troubled expression, Snake suppressed the frustration in his heart. In any case, they had officially met, so the position by her side could only be his. He had endured the days of watching her from afar for more than 10 years. In the future, with her accompanying him, what else could he not wait for? With one hand holding Gu Mingming's little hand and the other lifting her chin, Snake stared into Gu Mingming's eyes and said word by word, you can slowly fall in love with me, I can wait. But remember, in this lifetime, you only have one choice, which is to like me. Off topic. Chapter 947. Alright, accompany me to the club after you're done eating. Snake never let go of Gu Mingming's hand. Gu Mingming wanted to retract her hand a few times, but was frightened by Snake's cold stare. As she was pulled to the entrance of the canteen, Gu Mingming could not help but say, I have lessons in the afternoon. Snake stood still and turned to look at Gu Mingming. Due to his height, he looked like he was looking down on her. With endless pressure, he casually crushed Gu Mingming's lie with one sentence, I was the one who arranged the timetable for HR, are you sure you have lessons in the afternoon? Gu Mingming clearly saw the expression, you dare to lie to me. Do you want to die? On Snake's face. Hence, she swallowed her saliva and said, I don't have lessons. Snake snorted and did not say anything, continuing to walk towards the club. Gu Mingming's legs were shorter than Snake's, so she followed him step by step, pleading continuously, I'll accompany you to the club, but don't drag me along, it's not good if others see us. When they reached the entrance of the basketball court, Snake finally could not take it anymore. He turned back to look at Gu Mingming, who had been making a fuss the whole way, and asked through gritted teeth, am I so shameful? Is it so embarrassing to be involved with me? Gu Mingming was terrified by Snake's outburst. She shrunk her neck and did not dare to say a word, just looking at Snake pitifully with her big round eyes. Facing her fearful and innocent expression, Snake was at a loss of what to do. He released his hand and threw Gu Mingming onto the coach seat at the side of the court, saying with a cold face, I'll go change, you sit here and wait. Gu Mingming's little hands regained their freedom, and she immediately put them behind her back, nodding her head to show that she was obedient. Snake was afraid that he would really strangle her to death later, so he turned around and left. But after 2 steps, he suddenly turned back and looked at Gu Mingming, saying, you. Hurry up and give me a status. I don't want to be a wild man. With that, Snake went to the changing room without looking back. Leaving Gu Mingming dumbfounded, what status, what wild man, why couldn't she understand? University was most famous for its swimming club. Ever since Snake joined, this club had risen with unstoppable momentum. Within half a year, it had already become the most powerful club in the city. However, following Snake's withdrawal, this association did not have a new capable warrior to replace Snake, so it fell into desolation almost overnight. In response to this, the basketball club, which was originally just a group of unknown boys who got together to play basketball and didn't even participate in any competitions, quickly rose as the swimming club fell into desolation and became a new star among the clubs. Usually, there were only a few boys sweating in the basketball club's activity field. Occasionally, they would bring their girlfriends to watch, but at most, there would be 2 or 3 kittens. And today, once the news of Snake's participation in the society activity was released, was this a club activity? Are you sure it's not a celebrity meet and greet? The edge of the basketball court was crowded with people, and the banners and lights were shining brightly. If Snake had not brought Gu Mingming to the court in advance, she probably wouldn't have been able to squeeze in even if she wanted to. The moment Snake and the rest of the team members walked out of the changing room after changing, it was as if a cup of water had been poured into a pot of boiling oil. Gu Mengmeng felt as if her eardrums were about to burst. Chapter 948. To be honest, Gu Mengmeng had no concept of basketball itself. She barely knew some terms, which she learned from Kuriko's basketball. So she actually couldn't understand the intricacies of the competition. She could only understand one thing: Snake was so handsome. Whether it was raising his hand, dribbling the ball or just running, every move was so damn handsome. There were clearly 10 people competing in 2 teams, but Gu Mengmeng could only see one Snake. Was this what he meant when he said, "When you appear, everything else becomes background and passers-by A, B, C, D"? 29 hours. It seemed like it was enough to like someone. Gu Mingming's heart was pounding. She lowered her head and stared at her toes, feeling as if she had discovered something incredible. Cheers erupted from the court. Gu Mengmeng looked up and saw that the winner had been decided. Regardless of who won or lost, both parties had a carefree smile on their faces. They did not seem to care too much about the outcome and just enjoyed the process of playing to their heart's content. Snake took a step forward and stood in front of Gu Mengmeng. He stretched out his hand and said, "Water." "Oh." Gu Mengmeng passed the mineral water beside her to Snake in a daze. Snake twisted open the bottle cap and poured the water over his head to cool down his body. He did not like basketball as it was too intense and he would sweat too much. In comparison, he felt more at ease in the water. But he realized that when they were playing basketball just now, Gu Mingming's gaze towards him was filled with obvious admiration and adoration. So, even though he was dealing with a bunch of stupid humans, as long as she liked it, he would do it. After Snake poured the water over his body did cool down, but the crowd became rowdy. The girls' screams were deafening and the 3D encircling "Snake, I want to give birth to monkeys for you" continuously hovered above the basketball court. So annoying, so noisy. Snake pinched Gu Mingming's little face with one hand and squeezed her mouth into a fish's mouth. He then lowered his head and directly kissed her lips. So sweet. His mood improved, and he could no longer hear the noise in his ears. After kissing for a long time, when both of them had difficulty breathing, Snake finally released Gu Mingming's blushing face. "As expected, only you can make me feel better." Gu Mengmeng finally snapped out of her trance after hearing Snake's words. She pushed Snake away and stood up. "This is my first kiss." Even though it was an accusation, it sounded especially pleasant to Snake's ears. The corners of his lips widened and his eyes were filled with a complacent and doting smile. He said, "I know, me too." "You." Gu Mengmeng was embarrassed and angry. "Why don't I let you kiss me back?" Snake moved his lips forward again, looking like he was letting her do whatever she wanted. Seeing that Gu Mengmeng was about to turn around and run, he pulled her into his arms with his large hands. Pressing his lips against Gu Mingming's ear, he smiled and said, "You've already kissed me, shouldn't you give me a status now?" I. Gu Mengmeng was extremely embarrassed and could not say a word. If they admitted that they were boyfriend and girlfriend, then giving their first kiss to their first love seemed very beautiful. But how could he admit it? Gu Mengmeng was suddenly at a loss. Chapter 949. Promise him. Promise him. Promise him. The members of the basketball team jeered and Gu Mingming's face turned red, but she still nodded her head slightly. Snake heaved a long sigh of relief. He suddenly felt that these stupid humans were not completely useless. At least they knew how to help him lighten the mood at crucial moments. Seeing that they had added fuel to the fire to get Tumeng to give him a status, he would treat them better. Snake stood up and pulled Gu Meng Meng into his arms. He heaved a long sigh of relief. Tu Meng, you are finally mine. Gu Meng Meng knew that her nod meant that she had a boyfriend. Something like a boyfriend, she should be able to hug him, right? Her small hands wrapped around Snake's waist timidly. Ooh, it felt good. Snake's waist turned numb and his entire body trembled. In both his past and present lives, this was the first time Tu Meng had taken the initiative to hug him. Unable to vent the boiling emotions in his heart, Snake lowered his head and kissed Gu Meng Meng's lips deeply, pouring all his tenderness into her. Until Gu Meng Meng almost suffocated, Snake then released her reluctantly. He chuckled. I will accompany you in your first awakening of love, and in the future, I will accompany you until your hair turns gray. I only exist because of you. So Tu Meng, since you want me, you must not abandon me. Do you remember? Gu Meng Meng nodded, her heart itching. She knew that she did not have deep feelings for Snake, but she liked him. She liked how he protected her in his palms and carried her in his heart. His dominance, and everything about him could only belong to her alone. This feeling of being cherished and cared for made Gu Meng Meng sink into it. She could not resist it. She knew that there were some gaps that could not be crossed. For example, identity, status, and family background. But before they had no choice but to separate, she wanted to cherish this one-sided love. She wanted to enjoy all the warmth he gave and reciprocate all the sincerity he had. After the club activities ended, the team leader led his men to clear the area. He asked all the girls who had broken up today to leave the basketball court. He then walked to Snake and wanted to put his hand on his shoulder. But he did not have the guts. So he stood in front of Snake and Gu Meng Meng and rubbed his hands. Our basketball club has never been so glorious. Snake, you are really too awesome. Let's go to a karaoke tonight as a welcome party for you. How about it? Snake looked down at Gu Meng Meng with a doting expression. Do you want to go? Gu Meng Meng instinctively wanted to shake her head, but the captain waved Kong's hand and said, Junior, basketball is a sport that emphasizes teamwork. Mutual understanding and trust are very important. Snake just joined us today, he needs to cultivate his relationship with us. What's more, today is your first day of love, you should celebrate it no matter what, right? This right was obviously directed at Snake. It had to be said that the second half of the captain's sentence was very accurate. The confirmation of his relationship with Tu Meng was a cause for celebration. Gu Meng Meng saw that Snake's lips were already curling up, so she nodded and said, all right, then let's go together. That day at the KTV, everyone was having a wild time, but Snake just sat quietly and watched Gu Meng Meng, who was fooling around with everyone, with a smile on his lips. Chapter 950. Everyone took turns to sing a few rounds of songs. Some sang in different accents, while some sang with deep emotions. The last one was Snake. The team leader said that as long as Snake sang one song, today's event would end successfully. If he didn't sing, his and Gu Meng Meng's good days would not be complete. Gu Meng Meng's eyes lit up. Snake did not believe in superstitions. As long as he was around, who could stop him and Tu Meng from being complete? He did not like to put himself in a position for others to entertain. Previously, participating in swimming competitions was already his limit. If not for the fact that he wanted Tu Meng to have an early impression of him, even if it was just to look at him in the newspapers, he would not do such a thing. Now that his relationship with Tu Meng was confirmed, he did not need to do such foolish things. His Tu Meng would always be watching over him. But, he could not resist Tu Meng's expectant gaze. Thinking that this bunch of idiots had added fuel to the fire and helped him today, he nodded and pulled Tu Meng into his arms. They sat on the sofa and sang 123 I Love You. After singing, Snake immediately stood up and left the KTV with Gu Meng Meng in his arms. Everyone was not used to his style of doing things, but they did not mind too much. After all, he was already famous in the school when he was in the swimming club. Being able to hear a mute sing a song today was already enough to give them face. Therefore, no one cared about whether A wanted to go Dutch or not. The captain generously said that he would pay the bill, but when he went to the cashier to pay, he was told that half an hour ago, the KTV had changed owners, and the new owner's first order was that their private rooms were free of charge, and they could eat and play as they pleased. So, the team members went back and partied through the night. On the other side, Gu Meng Meng and Snake returned to the villa. They had just closed the door when Snake pressed Gu Meng Meng against the wall and kissed her deeply. There was a night light in the house. It was orange in color and the light was hazy and ambiguous. Gu Meng Meng did not know what to do. Gu Meng Meng's face was extremely red and her heart was beating wildly. If this level of heartbeat was due to a little deer bumping around, Gu Meng Meng was very worried about the little deer. It would probably die from the bumping. Snake's voice was hoarse as he asked softly with a single sound. We just confirmed our relationship today. The progress shouldn't be too fast. Gu Meng Meng curled up and lowered her head. Ha! Snake chuckled. Fast. He had waited 1,000 years in the beast world to meet her, and after reincarnating, he had waited a full 19 years to hold her in his arms. Not only was it not fast, it was simply too slow. However, he had no intention of scaring her. Although he desperately desired her, he wanted to save the best for the day they got married. He didn't want her life to have any more imperfections. She had suffered for 18 years. It was enough. In the future, with him protecting her, she could only be happy. But before that, there was something he needed to take care of. He lightly touched Gu Meng Meng's little nose and said, "You're my girlfriend. Can't I kiss you when we're deeply in love?" No. Gu Meng Meng was not referring to this. She just felt that he wanted to do something else after kissing her. Then you can kiss me. Snake did not wait for Gu Meng Meng to finish her sentence. He pecked her on the lips again and said, "Good girl." Gu Meng Meng felt an indescribable sweetness growing in her heart when she was being praised in such a childish tone. She did not say anything and just smiled. Since Tu Meng wants to be a good girl, then this matter, shouldn't you give me an explanation? With that, Snake took out an envelope from his pocket. There was a heart-shaped sticker on the envelope. The sticker was slightly raised and it was obvious that it had been opened. That was the love letter she used to confess to the captain of the basketball team yesterday morning. Digression, Gu Meng Meng thought, you have to maintain your persona, old brother. Settling scores after the fall is not suitable for you. Chapter 951. The white fog gathered again, as if that screen had never appeared. Gu Meng Meng held her forehead as she looked at the beast deity. Why do I feel like I will be taught a terrible lesson by Snake? The beast deity chuckled. I feel the same way too. Gu Meng Meng was speechless. It was not her fault for handing the love letter to the basketball club senior. She did not even remember him. Sigh, forget it. She could not help her past self even if she screamed till her throat broke. Anyway, she was such a coward. As long as she admitted her mistake and acted cute, Snake would not strangle her to death. Turning her head, Gu Meng Meng adjusted her expression. Papa, I have finished watching the television series. The beast deity nodded. Do you want to watch the next episode? Gu Meng Meng rolled her eyes. Don't act like you don't understand. Give me your pocket money. The beast deity rubbed his nose and laughed dryly. What do I want this time? Tell me. Gu Meng Meng thought for a moment. I am going to find the soul of the forest. Is there anything I cannot handle and need to prepare in advance? The beast deity thought for a moment. No. Gu Mang Mang nodded. Then when can Wabi be sent to Snake's side? Can you tell me now? The beast deity shook his head. Gu Mang Mang dusted her butt and stood up. All right, I won't ask for pocket money this time. I will just treat it as a filial daughter accompanying you to watch the television series. The beast deity gave a benevolent and kind smile. Were you provoked by Wabi's words? Gu Mang Mang did not deny it. I have lacked a father's love since I was young. Actually, I do not know how to interact with a father. Although you look more like a brother than a father, but based on the fact that you are a deity, I will not be presumptuous enough to ask your age. Well, I still have to thank you for acting as my father. Accompanying you to watch television series, it can be considered as me enjoying the familial love of my parents. In the future, I will try my best to come back to accompany you, if you are not busy. The beast deity nodded with a smile. You are always welcome home. Gu Mang Mang waved her hand and turned to walk into the white fog. After the expected free fall, Gu Mang Mang opened her eyes and saw 3 furry little heads squeezing onto her. He raised his hand and touched them one by one before Hedda and his brothers ran off happily. Elvis helped Gu Mang Mang up from behind and used his chest to let her lean against him. He brought a bowl of clear and sweet water to Gu Mang Mang's lips and fed her while saying, "It's raining heavily now, so we found a temporary cave to hide in. We will continue our journey after 2 more days when the weather clears up." Gu Mang Mang nodded. During the monsoon season, it would either not rain or once it did, it would last for 10 days to half a month. It was indeed not a good time to travel. If it was just her, Elvis, Leah and Wabi, it would be fine. But the problem was that she had 3 sons and she could not bear for them to suffer with her. Thinking of her sons, Gu Mang Mang turned to look at her 3 beast-like sons. Frowning, she asked, "What happened to the 3 of them? Why are you in your beast form?" Elvis chuckled and asked, "Don't you feel that they are different?" Chapter 952. Elvis patted Hedda's head and said, "Leader, begin." Hedda nodded his head, while Jiaoyu and Kanwa took 2 steps back, feeling a little eager to give it a try. Then, Hedda slowly transformed into a human in front of Gu Mang Mang. But, this height, Gu Mang Mang suddenly sat up straight, unable to hide the surprise on her face. She was overjoyed to see this graceful young man in front of her. The immaturity of a 6 or 7-year-old had faded away, and the current Hedda was like Qi Xian, like a 17 or 18-year-old youth. Elvis threw a piece of beast skin to him, and Hedda tied a simple beast skin skirt around his waist. He took 2 steps forward and said, "Mummy, I have evolved into a first-level orc." Gu Mang Mang held Hedda's face with both hands, feeling so relieved that she was about to cry. Her son had grown up, and although he did not have elegant clothes, he still looked like a gentle young master. The corners of his eyes and the tips of his brows were steady and reserved, and his exquisite facial features looked as if they were carved. He was resolute but not fierce, and belonged to the kind of warm man that people would feel was reliable and upright at one glance. "Congratulations, my baby." Hedda smiled and retreated to the side. Jiaoyu took 2 steps forward and placed his front paw on Gu Mang Mang's knee. Then, he slowly transformed. When he turned into a human, he knelt on one knee and placed both hands on Gu Mang Mang's leg. He looked up at Gu Mang Mang with a smile on his lips, perfectly curved, and a pair of eyes that looked exactly like Gu Mang Mang's, glowing with amber light. Jiaoyu was different from Hedda. Even if he was intentionally smiling so harmlessly, he still exuded a bad boy vibe. He was the kind of person who walked through the mortal world without a speck of dust. When faced with an innocent girl's confession, he would accept the love letter with a smile and say, "Miss, you are so pure, why do you want to get involved with me? He clearly had a face full of sunshine, but no one would believe that he was really harmless. If he was in school, he would probably become the public enemy of all the boys in school. Mummy, I have also evolved into a first-level orc. Gu Meng Meng rubbed her son's head and smiled. My son is really handsome. Elvis threw a piece of beast skin to Jiaoyu, and as he tied it, he asked, between me and Qi Xian, who is more handsome? Gu Meng Meng chuckled. All handsome. My sons are equally handsome. Jiaoyu did not buy it and pouted, forget it, I will not make things difficult for mother to lie. Qishuan's face is indeed blessed by the heavens. If not for the fact that they were born together, I would have suspected that he is Father Li's son. Elvis's face darkened. Did this mean that Leo was more handsome than him? Jiaoyu's gaze turned towards Elvis. Seeing that his face had darkened, the corners of his lips curled up in satisfaction. After all, he would have to move out after he became an adult. There wouldn't be many opportunities for him to cause trouble in the future. Jiaoyu took 2 steps back to make room for Kanwu. Kanwu shook the fur on his body and slowly transformed into his human form. He was half a head taller than his 2 brothers and was at least 1.9 to 2 meters tall, almost as tall as Elvis. He and Heda were the complete opposite of each other. His eyebrows were like swords and his eyes were like stars. His features were sharp, and even though he was still immature, he exuded a hint of heroism. It had to be said that even though Kanwu and Elvis were like fire and water, but just based on looks alone, he resembled Elvis the most. Without waiting for Elvis to throw the beast skin over, Kanwu pulled a piece of beast skin and tied it around his waist. He smiled. Mummy, we have all evolved into first-level orcs. We can protect you better in the future. Aside from the topic. Chapter 953. Gu Meng Meng was extremely touched, but her heart ached at the same time. She remembered that Elvis had said that he had to go through all those hardships to reach adulthood at the age of 1. But her sons, back then, the 3 little ones had forcefully broken through to become half-orcs because of Ellie's provocation. It was like pulling up seedlings to help them advance, and it was very taxing on their bodies. Leah had also said that most children would reach adulthood at 2 or 3 years old, and the 3 brothers would only be able to accumulate enough energy to advance when they were 4 or 5 years old. But now, why did all 3 of her sons advance when she woke up from her sleep? Wabi, who had gone out to hunt, walked in through the rain. His tail was wrapped around 5 to 6 prey. They had died so horribly that their original faces could not be recognized. In the past, Gu Meng Meng would have screamed in fear. But after having Snake's memories. Seeing that Gu Meng Meng had woken up, Wabi was slightly surprised. He threw the prey to one side and transformed back into human form. He moved closer to Gu Meng Meng and asked, "What did your father say?" Gu Meng Meng shook her head. "I can't say." Wabi sighed. This was the 3rd time he had heard this sentence, and he was already used to it. Then he asked, "What about him? Is he all right?" Gu Meng Meng chuckled. "Yeah, I got what I wanted." Wabi raised his brows. "Did he take you down?" The moment he asked that, Elvis and Leah tensed up. Gu Meng Meng could clearly see their ears pricking up. They were obviously waiting for Gu Meng Meng's reply. Gu Meng Meng chuckled and nodded. "He is over there. He has confirmed his relationship with the other me." Li's face darkened. He walked to Gu Meng Meng's side and asked plaintively, "He is your boyfriend?" Gu Meng Meng wanted to say that it was not her, but on second thought, it was clearly her. So she nodded, admitting it. Li's expression was grave. His eyes were filled with resentment. "Then what about me, you?" Gu Meng Meng did not understand. Leah said, Elvis is your husband and I am your boyfriend. Now that Snake has snatched away my boyfriend status, what should I do? Gu Meng Meng burst out laughing and said, he is my boyfriend in another dimension, not the me in front of you. Leah said, that won't do either. Go and tell father-in-law to break them up. A gust of cold air blew over. Wabi was already in a position to attack Leah. Gu Meng Meng glared at Wabi. How dare you touch my man? I will turn you into snake soup. Without waiting for Wabi to retort, Gu Meng Meng held Lee's face and kissed him. You have long been my partner. Why are you still fighting for the boyfriend title? Leah completely ignored Wabi. Indeed, he could not defeat him in a fight, but he had no intention of competing with that dumb snake. Right now, he was more concerned about his status by Gu Mingming's side, so he waved his furry tail and wrapped it around Gu Mingming's waist, stuffing it into her arms. He hugged Gu Meng Meng from behind so that her back was completely pressed against his chest. He rested his chin on her smooth shoulder and said, Meng Meng, I want a status, a unique one. Wabi's eyes widened in shock. Gu Meng Meng took a deep breath and asked, Hubby, how is it? Leah was stunned for 2 seconds before asking, what do you mean? Gu Meng Meng said. That was how partners were addressed in the early days. Chapter 954. Later, Gu Meng Meng found out that it was Wabi who helped her 3 sons evolve. His method was simple and violent. He just dragged the 3 of them out and gave them a good beating every day. Males gained experience from battles. Lee's conservative estimate of 3 to 5 years was based on the fact that they only participated in hunting and only fought against wild beasts. Actually, Elvis and Leah could also be her sparring partners, but because Gu Meng Meng cared too much about her 3 sons, they would subconsciously show mercy during the battle. As a result, many attacks were ineffective and did not have the effect of accumulating experience. But Wabi was different. Snakes were naturally cold and indifferent. As for showing mercy, he did not understand it at all. He did not hold back at all when he beat the 3 little ones up. But apart from Gu Meng Meng herself, Wabi was the strongest fighter in the entire beast world. With such a high-level training partner, the 3 little ones' experience soared even if they just stood there and got beaten up. So in just 3.5 days, the 3 little ones broke through their limits and leveled up. After hearing the entire process, Gu Meng Meng did not say anything else. She just lifted the hide and put on her shoes. She hugged Wabi's neck and dashed into the rain. Come, little shit. Let's have a good talk about life. Crack, 3 huge trees fell. Clang, a crater was smashed into the ground. Smack smack smack, rubble fell to the ground. A new cave was smashed into the side of the cave they were originally staying in. When Gu Meng Meng clapped her hands and returned from the cave, Leah used a piece of beast skin to carry her to the bonfire. Elvis had already returned to his original form and all the fur on his body was warmed up, allowing her to snuggle in his arms for warmth. The 3 little ones stood obediently in a row. They promised obediently that they would always listen to their mother and never make her angry. As for Wabi, he had not felt so good in a long time. He was sprawled in the newly created cave, reminiscing the wondrous feeling of being unable to move in pain. This heavy rain lasted for a full 9 days. On the 10th day, it finally cleared up. Gu Meng Meng felt that she would grow mushrooms if she stayed in the cave any longer. She stretched lazily under the sunlight before hanging back in Elvis's arms. The group continued on their way to Zacharias. Along the way, Gu Meng Meng suddenly laughed. Elvis asked her what she was laughing at. Gu Meng Meng replied, "It seems that ever since I got together with you, I don't need to bring my legs out anymore." Elvis chuckled and kissed Gu Meng Meng on the cheek without saying a word. Gu Meng Meng wrapped her arms around Elvis's neck and asked, "Hubby, aren't you tired of hugging me all day? I feel like I've put on weight recently. It should be very heavy, right? Elvis deeply remembered the scene when she threw a potato at him when he complimented her on being fat. Although it did not hurt, he could not bear to make her angry. But he had promised not to lie to her, and in reality, she was indeed a little fatter than when she first arrived in the beast world. Pursing his lips, Elvis replied, "It is indeed a little heavy, after all. I am carrying my entire world." Gu Meng Meng burst out laughing and kissed him on the cheek. Hubby's mouth is so sweet. Elvis secretly heaved a sigh of relief in his heart, glad that he managed to muddle through. The place where they were taking shelter from the rain was not far from Zachariah's tribe. In addition, Gu Meng Meng was full of energy and the three little ones had already evolved into first-level orcs. Their speed and endurance had all improved, so they arrived at the stray beast camp on the second night. Out of topic. Chapter 955. Ever since Gu Meng Meng temporarily stayed in the cave that Elvis had stayed in before winter, no stray beasts dared to approach it. Perhaps it was because the Beast King aura that Gu Meng Meng had left behind was too frightening, or because of Cole's words. Anyway, when Elvis and Leah brought Gu Meng Meng back, the place was exactly the same as when they had left. The cooking utensils and bedding were the same, and even their positions were the same. It was just that a layer of dust had accumulated and needed to be tidied up. Elvis and Leah were very satisfied that there was no other person scent left in the cave. Elvis carried Gu Meng Meng and brought the three little ones to look for Peter and Natalie, while Leah stayed in the cave to clean up. And when they reached Natalie's cave, Gu Meng Meng was completely dumbfounded. Who could tell her what was going on with these 6 little ones? Her mother-in-law had given birth to a litter of cubs that were even younger than her sons. Hi. Gu Meng Meng suddenly felt a little awkward. How should she introduce her mother-in-law to her sons? Come, sons, this pregnant lady is your grandmother and these 6 little ones are your uncles. Be good, call them uncles. Imagining her sons, who looked to be 17 or 18 years old, calling the little ones who had not weaned off milk uncle, the scene was so beautiful that Gu Meng Meng could not accept it. But they were already standing here, and it would be inappropriate not to introduce them. Elvis seemed to have seen through Gu Meng Meng's thoughts, so he spoke for her. He pointed at his 3 sons and said, Heda, Jialu, Kanwu. Natalie's body was already weak to begin with, and coupled with the fact that she had just given birth, she looked like she was suffering from a serious illness. But she was still very happy to see Elvis and the 3 little ones. So she propped herself up and leaned against Peter's chest. She smiled and greeted the 3 little ones. Hello, I am Natalie. Hello. The 3 little ones greeted politely, but did not add on any form of address. Gu Meng Meng pursed her lips, not knowing how to express her current feelings. Elvis leaned close to her ear and whispered, the concept of kinship in the beast world is different from your world. Here, kinship only extends to the generation of parents and children. This meant that Natalie and Peter were my beast father and beast mother, but to Heda and his brothers, they were just Natalie and Peter. So you don't have to worry about those complicated seniority and kinship relationships. Upon hearing Elvis's words, Gu Meng Meng secretly heaved a sigh of relief. It was really a happy thing that she didn't have to let her son call Milk Bun uncle. Peter had no intention of greeting the 3 little ones. He could only see Natalie and the 6 milk buns. They were all his and Natalie's children, but his attitude towards these 6 little ones and Elvis's was worlds apart. Luckily, Elvis did not expect much from this familial love, or else he would definitely be very upset now. Gu Meng Meng teased her brother-in-law and felt that he was extremely cute. She wanted to hug him but was stopped by Elvis, who asked with a cold face, Why, you want brothers to share the same wife? The corner of Gu Meng Meng's mouth twitched. She pointed at the 3 milk buns that were not even the size of a palm and said, "Do you think I look like a pervert? When they grow up, they will look like me." Elvis paused for a moment before continuing, "I haven't forgotten how you drooled over me when you first saw me." Out of topic, it's the last day of March, and the monthly pass expires tomorrow. Chapter 956. Before Gu Meng Meng could retort, Natalie smiled and said, "If you like them, you can choose one and bring them back to raise. You can mate them directly after they reach adulthood." Gu Meng Meng gave a dry laugh and said, "Are you sure they have a chance of living to adulthood after I bring them back?" Natalie was taken aback and didn't seem to understand what Gu Meng Meng meant. Elvis's face darkened and he said, "Only those who can survive from my hands have the right to become Xiao Meng's partner." Elvis's words made Natalie nervous, not because of the milk bun, but because of Elvis. She was afraid that Gu Meng Meng would hate Elvis for being so obviously jealous and obstructing females from taking in new partners. So the moment Elvis said that, Natalie immediately looked at Gu Meng Meng. She wanted to plead for mercy on Elvis's behalf, but her words got stuck in her throat when she saw Gu Meng Meng's smiling face. Gu Meng Meng held Elvis's face and kissed him. "My hubby looks so handsome when he's jealous." Elvis's frosty face cracked in an instant, revealing endless gentleness and doting. He tapped Gu Meng Meng's little nose and said, "I can be very handsome at other times too, so don't attract more love rivals for me." "I can't promise you that," Gu Meng Meng said proudly. "I am a natural-born beauty and I shine everywhere I go. I can't do anything about it when others want to stick to me the moment they see me." Looking at her smug look, Elvis felt helpless and at the same time very adorable. He pinched her little face and said, "It's all right, Leah, and I will strangle everyone who pounces on you to death one by one. Not a single one will be left alive." Hubby, you are so violent, so bloody, and so cruel. "But I like it so much." Elvis cupped the back of her head and planted a kiss on her brow. "Didn't you say you have important matters to discuss with them? If you don't want to say it, let's go back. Leah must be anxious waiting for us." Say it, say it." Gu Meng Meng snapped out of her shock at the fact that her brother-in-law was younger than her son. She looked at Peter and said, "I want to go to Zachariah's tribe to retrieve some things. I want to arrange for my son to stay here temporarily. Can you help me take care of him?" Peter didn't speak, but Natalie smiled and nodded. "No problem, I will keep an eye on them. I will fight to the death with whoever dares to harm a single strand of their hair." Now that Natalie had put it that way, Peter had no way out. No matter what, he couldn't let Natalie fight for her life, could he? Then he could only protect her. Gu Meng Meng grinned at Natalie. "Thank you." Natalie nodded at Gu Meng Meng, then turned to look at Peter. "I think I heard you mention the Zacharias tribe before. Are you familiar with it?" Peter nodded and said, "It is adjacent to my territory and we often fight. Their leader, Reynold, is an iron-fisted person. Although he's only at level 4, he's a difficult opponent. That's why I've tried my best not to provoke them all these years. It's not that I can't beat them, but it's too troublesome to deal with the aftermath." Peter looked at Gu Meng Meng, then at Natalie. He sighed and said, "I know why you want to go to Zacharias. I will accompany you." Gu Meng Meng. Peter said, "You saved Natalie. I owe you my life. I have to repay you eventually, so there's no need to drag it out for too long." Chapter 957. But before Gu Meng Meng could open her mouth, Natalie interrupted. "Just let him go with you. He has more dealings with the Zacharias tribe. It will be more convenient with him around." Gu Meng Meng thought about it and agreed. After all, a powerful dragon could not suppress a local snake. And Peter was clearly the most powerful local snake in this area. With him around, Leonard would have to think twice before trying anything funny. Offending both the messenger of the beast deity and the stray beasts at the same time was equivalent to going up against the strongest forces in both the black and white worlds. Would Amir Zachariah's tribe have the ability to handle two battlefields? Nodding, Gu Mengmeng said, "Then I will have to trouble you." Peter didn't say anything else and Elvis couldn't be bothered to waste his breath on them. Hence, he carried Gu Mengmeng and brought the three little ones back to their own cave. Due to the heavy rain, they had been delayed for a long time. Hence, Gu Mengmeng and the rest didn't spend too much time resting and set off for Zacharias the next morning. The stray beast's main camp was not far from Zacharias. Hence, before noon, Gu Mengmeng, Elvis, Leah, Wabi-I and Peter had already reached the borders of Zacharias' tribe's territory. Perhaps it was because they had fought with stray beasts for many years, but Zacharias' sense of territory was much more obvious than Saint Nazir's or even Sauter's. They had purposely left an empty strip of land in the middle of the forest. It was about 2 meters of empty soil, without any trees or flowers. Gu Mengmeng and the rest stood on one side of the strip, while the other side was patrolling orcs. Their patrols were not chaotic and unobstructed, nor were they independent. Instead, they were coordinated and interconnected. Gu Mengmeng glanced over and smiled softly. This formation gave off the feeling of an ancient army camp. It was just that all the knives, spears, swords and halberds had been replaced with sharp claws and fangs. She took a step forward and stepped into the strip of land. The alarmed beasts stepped forward to block Gu Mengmeng. Perhaps they had never seen Gu Mengmeng before, but Gu Mengmeng's looks made her stand out. Coupled with Elvis and Leah, one in black and one in white, this iconic combination had already revealed their identities. Moreover, a fifth-grade snake beast, could there be a second one in this world? Gu Mengmeng's eyes were full of smiles. She placed her elbow on Elvis's shoulder and rested her chin on her palm. Using the fact that Elvis was hugging her, she was able to look down at the males from a higher position. Her lips curved into a playful smile as she said, "Your tribe leader invited me over just to give me the cold shoulder." The person who stopped her bowed to Gu Mengmeng and said, "The great messenger can enter any time, but others cannot." Oh. Gu Mengmeng raised her eyebrows and said, Ever since I came to the beast world, this is the first time someone dares to set rules for me. Please forgive us, Lord Emissary." The beast man guard said, but he did not move half a step away. He had no intention of retreating. Gu Mengmeng seemed to understand what Peter meant when he said offending Zacharias was a very troublesome matter. Looking at the 5 people on his side, there was a messenger of the beast deity with the strength of a beast king, 3 5th-level beasts and 1 4th-level beast. Who wouldn't get cramps after seeing such a lineup? However, a mere guard was able to stop them in a manner that was neither servile nor overbearing. It could be seen how well-trained he was and how strict his military orders were. Chapter 958. The guard didn't say a word and just stood there, flashing his sharp claws. Gu Mengmeng raised her brows and asked with a smile, "You think you can stop me?" The guard shook his head honestly and said, "Just us alone can't stop any one of you. You clearly know you can't stop me, yet you still want to flash your claws in front of me?" Gu Mengmeng asked. The guard still nodded and said, "Our duty is to guard this place. Unless we die, we will definitely not allow outsiders to step into the tribe." Gu Mengmeng chuckled and pointed at her nose, saying, "But I am also an outsider, why can I go in?" The guard still stood there like a soldier and looked at Gu Mengmeng as he replied, "The great messenger represents the beast deity. All the tribes in the beast world are your tribes and all the orcs are your people. So you can enter and leave as you wish and are not considered an outsider." Gu Mengmeng nodded and said, "Oh, so I am of the privileged class." The guard didn't know what the privileged class was and so didn't reply and just stood there. Gu Meng Meng waved her hands and said, "I don't want to make things difficult for you. The person who went to report the news should be back soon, right? Let's wait for Leonard to come back first." Every tribe had its own rules. Although no one could stop her if she barged in, Gu Meng Meng felt that there was no need to bully the weak. Moreover, among the few masters around her, other than Peter, the other three could not bear to see her suffer any grievances. Now that she had been slighted at the gates of Zacharias, all she had to do was give the word and these guards would be beaten to a pulp. They were just doing their duty and there was no need to be so ruthless. Fortunately, Leonard and Nick quickly came out to welcome her. When they saw Gu Meng Meng, they immediately bowed and apologized, saying, "Great messenger, please forgive us." It was Leonard who made the wrong arrangements and slighted the great messenger. Gu Meng Meng chuckled and said, "No matter, then, can we go in now?" Leonard looked up at Gu Meng Meng and said, "Great messenger and your partners can enter Zacharias, but stray beasts cannot. As long as one of us in Zacharias is still breathing, we will not allow stray beasts to step into our territory." Gu Meng Meng raised her brows and laughed coldly, saying, "You mean, if we all want to go in, we have to exterminate your tribe?" "Yes," Reynold answered honestly. Gu Meng Meng was still smiling. She looked at everyone on her side, then at Leonard. "Then how long do you think it will take for us to exterminate your tribe?" Reynold was very clear about the battle strength of his tribe, and the opponent's strength was right in front of him. After a moment of consideration, Reynold said, "Half a day." Gu Meng Meng asked, "Which is more important, your principles or Zacharias' half a day of life?" Reynold paused for a moment. When he raised his head again, he was extremely determined. Principles are principles. Nothing can be accomplished without rules. We would rather die in battle than let the stray beasts touch our tribe. Chapter 959. In fact, Wabi had the ability to do so. Apart from Gu Meng Meng, no one else in the beast world could suppress Wabi. Even if they were both 5th-level warriors, Elvis might be able to severely injure Wabi if he fought with all his might, but he would not be able to kill him. Gu Meng Meng waved her hands. "Little shit, calm down. I promised to bring you out to play. Why would I abandon you? Am I such a disloyal person? Isn't that so?" Although Wabi was unwilling, he still nodded and admitted that Gu Meng Meng was a loyal person. Gu Meng Meng comforted Wabi, then looked at Leonard. "Since it is not convenient for my friend to enter Zacharias, we do not have to. Just tell me the location of the soul of the forest here and we will head there directly." This. Leonard seemed to be in a difficult position, as if he had something he could not say. Gu Meng Meng was in no hurry to rush him. She just nestled in Elvis's arms and looked at him, waiting for him to speak. "Leonard." A sweet voice floated over from afar. Gu Meng Meng clearly saw Leonard's expression change. He immediately turned his head and curled the corners of his lips out of reflex. He did not look like the iron-fisted person he had been a moment ago. Looking towards the direction of the voice, she saw a female sitting on the back of a tiger. 4 males stood by her side, each holding onto the 4 horns of an unknown beast's hide to shield her from the sun. And the female sitting on the back of the tiger was different from ordinary females on land. She was a very beautiful female. Her long, curly hair floated casually in the wind and her exquisite features were as beautiful as a porcelain doll's. This female gave Gu Meng Meng a sense of déjà vu. She could not tell who she looked like, but her aura was a little like Melinda. However, Melinda's eyes were clearer than hers, unlike Melinda's eyes which were full of flirtatiousness. Gu Meng Meng had seen the hide she was wearing before. It was the skin of a white fox. Leah had hunted it for her in the past. She felt awkward wearing it, as if she was wearing Lee's skin. She had never worn it again. Leah knew she did not like it and did not hunt any more white fox skins for her. But Gu Mengmeng knew that white foxes were rare and very cunning. Not to mention hunting them, even finding them depended on luck and ability. Many females felt proud of having a piece of white fox fur, feeling that they were a cut above others. Looking at Reynolds' attitude toward her, he didn't even have to guess to know what their relationship was. "Dora, why did you come out?" Reynolds walked towards the female, but stopped a step away. It was as if he was afraid that his clumsy hands would hurt her. Dora smiled warmly and pointed at the group standing on the barricade. "The messenger and her partners are our invited guests. Although Wabi-Ai is a stray beast, he is also a representative of the Snake King Valley. Since he has the intention to reconcile, how can we block them outside? Hurry up and let everyone in, don't neglect the guests." "But..." Reynolds frowned, as if he was very hesitant. He did not look like he was facing death calmly when he rejected Gu Mengmeng. He was clearly wavering. Dora gently placed her hand on her abdomen. She looked up at Reynolds with watery eyes. "The messenger is the daughter of the mighty beast deity. If she pleads for me, perhaps the mighty beast deity will forgive me. Then I will have the chance to get pregnant and give birth to your cubs. Don't you want a child that belongs to us? I beg you, all right." Chapter 960. Dora. Gu Mengmeng narrowed her eyes and looked at Wabi-Ai. "If I remember correctly, the female mermaid who tried to harm Melinda in the ocean was called Dora." Wabi-Ai nodded. "Seems like it." Gu Mengmeng smiled. "Do you think it is her?" Wabi-Ai shrugged. "It makes no difference whether I love her or not." "That's true." Gu Mengmeng didn't want to dwell on this issue. She just treated it as a casual conversation and didn't take it to heart. Leonard returned to Gu Mengmeng and bowed to her. Then, he gestured for her to enter. "Great messenger, this way please." Gu Mengmeng nodded but didn't reply. The group walked to the center of the tribe and saw a towering pagoda made of logs. It was stained with a thick layer of blood, which gave off a dim glow under the sunlight and emitted a fishy smell. Gu Mengmeng frowned. She pointed at the pagoda. "This is a female who just came of age." Leonard nodded. "Yes, there is a female in the tribe who just came of age last night." Gu Mengmeng clenched her fists as she thought of the so-called campfire party that Elvis and Leah had prepared for her. Her temples throbbed. She must find a chance to get rid of this custom, it was too unacceptable to others. Wabi-Ai and Peter didn't know what Gu Mengmeng thought of the pagoda. But Elvis and Leah knew that it was an eyesore to Gu Mengmeng. They exchanged glances and didn't mention the pagoda. Instead, it was Leah who stepped forward and sized up Dora, who was sitting on the white tiger. "You are Dora." Leah had a formal smile on his face. The curvature of his lips looked as if he had practiced it thousands of times, accurately presenting a distant yet polite smile on his face. Males were always on their guard against other males approaching their females. Even if the other party was a mated orc. Moreover, Leah was just too good-looking. Leonard couldn't ignore the surprise in Dora's eyes when she saw him. They were both fourth-level orcs. Leonard stepped forward to stand between Dora and Leah. But Leah just smiled. He covered his lips and looked at Leonard with raised brows. "Are you guarding against me?" Reynolds neither admitted nor denied it. He just stood there motionlessly. Laughing softly, Leah took a step back lazily. "You don't have to do this. I don't fancy her." Leonard knew that she was the messenger of the beast deity and acknowledged her beauty. However, he still felt very uncomfortable when his own female was described as not good enough for me. He wanted to retort but could not find the right words. He clenched his fists and had the urge to fight Leah. The great emissary is the daughter of the beast god. Naturally, she is the best in the world. Dora tugged on Leonard's arm gently and extinguished the fire in Leonard's chest with just a glance. She then continued, Lord Leah is the male of the messenger, so he naturally would not be interested in a lowly female like Dora. Leonard didn't mean anything else, please don't take offense. You are not lowly. Reynold clenched his fists and frowned at Dora. His face was full of heartache. Chapter 961. Leah could not be bothered with their flirting. He just waved his tail and said, I went to the seaside previously and heard that there was a female mermaid named Dora. Leah dragged out his last word as his gaze landed on Dora. He did not finish his sentence, but it was obvious that he was inquiring. Dora did not avoid it. She nodded and said, I think the Dora that Lord Leah heard about should be me. Oh, not necessarily. I heard that Dora stole a treasure from the giant fish tribe and even framed her own tribe's princess. I heard that she was imprisoned as a tribe slave. Lee's every word agitated Leonard's nerves. Chuckling, Lee's gaze swept across Leonard's flushed face and he cursed silently, let's see how long you can hold it in. Yes, I was sold as a tribe slave. Dora's little hand held onto Leonard's arm and she said, Leonard bought me and brought me back here. Oh, so it really is you. You really live up to the word lowly. Leah purposely poked at Leonard's heart and said in a seemingly nonchalant manner. You. Leonard wanted to explode, but he only managed to say one word before he was interrupted by Lee's next words. Only females who commit grave mistakes will be imprisoned as tribe slaves. I guess you must have suffered a lot before you were brought back here. Leo looked at the dense mating marks on Dora's body and chuckled. Do you want to wash these clean? Dora's eyes widened and she looked at Leo with an urgent gaze. Leonard said, you have a way. His heart ached for Dora who felt inferior because of the countless mating marks on her body. Those nightmarish days tormented her every moment and he wanted to free her from them. Leah nodded and chuckled. Defeat me and I will tell you. Leonard had been wanting Leah since the beginning. How could he hesitate after hearing him say that? He did not even maintain his human form and immediately transformed into a white tiger to pounce on Leah. Leah had received professional training in solder and had learned how to fight stray beasts during his days wandering outside. In addition to the many years of battle experience he had accumulated from cooperating with Elvis, he was able to handle beasts of the same level with ease. As for Leonard's attacks, they were ferocious but not skillful enough. He was often misled by Leah into making wrong judgments. For example, the claws that slapped the wooden pagoda, dong. Gudung gudung, a log rolled down, and the wooden tower that lost its balance collapsed in an instant. Leah dodged nimbly, but Leonard was stunned for a second and a half. Just that 1.5 seconds made him lose the upper hand and look very pathetic. In the end, he was even struck in the waist by a log and lay on the ground for a long time before he could stand up. Leah returned to Gu Mingming's side and rested his arm on Elvis's shoulder. His furry tail landed in Gu Mingming's arms. His long and affectionate eyes were filled with slyness as he said, I say, tribe leader Leonard, no matter how anxious you are to find a prescription for her, you shouldn't have toppled the bonfire wooden pagoda used for her coming-of-age ceremony. How inauspicious, TSK, aren't you going to call someone over to tidy up this place? Those who don't know better would think that we have entered some abandoned tribe. It's a wasteland full of ruins. Chapter 962. With a look from Leonard, Nick hurriedly arranged for men to move the scattered logs away. But Leah acted like nothing had happened as he hooked Gu Mingming's chin with a fawning smile. He didn't say anything and just smiled. Gu Mengmeng knew that he didn't want to see her in a bad mood because of that wooden pagoda. She chuckled. This is someone else's territory after all. Leo looked at Elvis and didn't reply. Elvis said in a low voice, "Half a day," he said too much. Gu Mengmeng looked at Elvis in confusion. Leah explained kindly, "Destroy Zacharias and turn this place into our territory. If it was just me and Elvis, it would indeed take half a day. But if he is included, ha ha." Leah pointed at Wabi, who tilted his head lazily. He looked at Gu Mengmeng and asked, "Do we destroy them?" Gu Mengmeng guaranteed that as long as she nodded or smiled, Wabi would sweep through the entire Zacharias like a wild horse. He just had to transform into his original form and roll around on the ground. Then, there would be nothing left but pancakes, the kind with no skin and only meat. Gu Mengmeng stretched out her hand. "Calm down, everyone calm down." Wabi looked disappointed. "Can't we fight?" "TSK, so boring." Gu Mengmeng heaved a sigh of relief. She turned back to look at Leah. "We are here for official business." Leah shrugged. "Expanding the tribe's territory is also official business." Gu Mengmeng face-bombed. She wasn't used to the Beast World style of snatching anything they liked. In order not to cause any more trouble, Gu Mengmeng dusted off her hands and looked at Leonard. "Sorry, the males in my family don't have good tempers. So you better get straight to the point. Where is the soul of the forest? Then, we will set off. Otherwise, they won't be able to control themselves and really flatten your territory." Leonard wanted to retort that Zacharias was a powerful tribe and wouldn't be defeated so easily. But after exchanging blows with Leah, he clearly realized that he had overestimated himself by saying half a day. Leah was the weakest in the entire team. He was clearly of the same level as him, but he had been fooled by him. Peter was the leader of the stray beasts. The fifth-level beasts in Zacharias had fought with him many times, but there were very few times where they had the upper hand. Elvis had always been known for his ruthlessness. Back then, when he was only a fourth level, he led his tribesmen to battle with 3 fifth-level beasts from Sodor. Not only did he level up during the battle, he even defeated them completely, causing 2 of Sodor's original 3 fifth-level beasts to die and 1 to be crippled. As for that Wabi, he was a myth and legend second only to Snake, so it was impossible to predict how strong he was. All he knew was that his legs were trembling uncontrollably just by looking into his eyes. Even though he was used to pretending to be calm, this pretense might be able to fool others, but it was impossible to fool himself. However, the strongest battle power was not these 4 perverted males, but the little female who was always smiling in Elvis's arms. Being unfathomable was the most terrifying thing. Fear, he was truly afraid. However, he had a reason not to retreat. Chapter 963. Gu Mengmeng chuckled and propped her chin on one hand. Instead of answering, she asked, "Are you in a position to negotiate with me now?" Yes, he didn't seem to have any bargaining chips to negotiate with Gu Mengmeng. Zacharias had taken in the tribesmen who had ambushed the Snake King Valley. Wabi was the new leader of the Snake King Valley and an unrestrained stray beast. It was only natural for him to wipe out Zacharias today. Moreover, in the beast world, power was the law. Not to mention that he was in the right now. Even if he wasn't, who would dare to criticize him for destroying Zacharias on a whim? Clenching his fists, Leonard put on a determined look. "If the Great Messenger doesn't agree, I would rather the entire Zacharias tribe be slaughtered than tell you the location of the soul of the forest." Gu Mengmeng twitched her lips. "I thought you were a good tribe leader. So you are someone who can abandon your tribe and tribesmen for your own selfish reasons." "Ah, that's true. Every man for himself will be destroyed. But I am still traumatized by your threats. So I am very dissatisfied with your attitude when negotiating with me. Before Gu Mengmeng finished her sentence, Peter had already grabbed Dora by the neck. The speed of a 5th-level orc was not something that the 2nd-level beast skin umbrellas beside Dora could see clearly. Even a 4th-level beast like Leonard couldn't react in time. Looking at Dora's flushed face, Leonard clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. Dora, don't be afraid. Once I settle down my tribesmen, I will come and accompany you. Does that mean you can die in peace? Gu Mengmeng raised her brows and looked at Leonard as if he was a heartless man. How should she put it? Ever since she came to the beast world, most of the males she had seen were the type who valued females more than anything else. Let's put it this way. If someone grabbed her by the neck, even if Elvis and Leah had to personally slaughter Saint Nazir, they wouldn't even bat an eyelid. Even if the so-called slaughter included the two of them, as long as it could be exchanged for her safety, these two idiots would slice themselves into mutton slices, the kind that could be used in a hot pot. Snake even did this personally, just to prevent her from suffering the pain of the poison, just to protect her pair of legs. He actually cut open his own chest and dug out his own snake gallbladder for her. But Leonard, his eyes were about to bleed. It was clear that he didn't care. Ha, I can endure it, but not normal people. Gu Mengmeng gave Peter a look. He loosened his grip on Dora's neck slightly, allowing her to breathe. Reynold. Dora called out softly with a sobbing tone. Leonard didn't dare to move, afraid that he would agitate Peter into snapping Dora's neck. He could only turn to look at Gu Mengmeng. Great messenger, no matter what, Dora is a precious female. Please don't hurt her. I promised to use the soul of the forest in exchange for letting bygones be bygones, but now I've suddenly added conditions. It's my fault. If you have any dissatisfaction, you can vent it directly on me. Gu Mengmeng chuckled. Leonard, I respect you as a man and will give you a chance. Tell me, what are the conditions you want to discuss with me? The veins on Leonard's arm were about to burst. Gu Mengmeng knew that he must really want to fight Peter to save Dora. But he also knew that it was wishful thinking for him to save Dora under such circumstances. So he endured. Out of topic, well, today's update is over. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.